Mágad. Tá fíorthasta an rún seo the cuid an comhaontas glas a chur faoi bhrád na Dáil anocht. Today I am bringing before this House a motion which calls on the Government to recognise the crucial needs of a mother in circumstances when a child is born prematurely. The Green Party believes that the extension of maternity leave and maternity benefit for the mothers of babies who are born premature is a vital first step in tackling the particular challenges which parents and families of prematurely delivered babies, as well as the premature babies themselves, face. I would like to acknowledge the many parents who have written to me in recent weeks in support of this motion, and I welcome the mothers, fathers and children in attendance in the gallery here this afternoon for this debate, and I thank you for attending. Any positive changes we as legislators may make to maternity leave may be too late for some of them, but they are not here for themselves, but for the mothers and fathers yet to come and for future generations. I admire your strength, your courage and your generosity of spirit. Many of you know firsthand what is at stake today and passionately want to see a more caring Ireland for mothers unexpectedly catapulted into a different world, a challenge the magnitude of which they may never have faced before. In the words of one mother who wrote to me yesterday, if people lived it, they wouldn't think twice about it. I also welcome members from Irish Premature Babies to the gallery today and thank them for supporting this motion and acknowledge their selfless and dedicated work that they and all charities and groups do tirelessly, supporting and advocating for the families of premature infants and for the premature infants themselves. Minister, 1 in every 16 women in Ireland will give birth to a premature baby. Every year, more than 4,500 babies are delivered in Ireland before 37 weeks. Some babies are born 17 weeks before their due date. The impact on parents and extended family can be significantly challenging and sometimes very daunting. We are a small country, and everyone knows parents who have been affected by the worry, the shock, the terror and uncertainty of delivering their baby prematurely, followed then by the long hospital vigils, hour after hour, day after day, week after week, and for some, month after month. These parents, if not already, rapidly become acutely aware of the scale of the varied worries and challenges which they must face, about infections, diseases and many other health challenges which premature babies are at much greater risk of contracting than full-term babies. While new parenthood is always a challenge, the mother of a premature baby has to deal with so many additional challenges. Firstly, there is the sudden and unexpected timing of the birth itself, with many mothers not even having the time to pack a bag for their stay in hospital, let alone be afforded the time to inform their employers in advance about events. And even when their stay in hospital ends and they are formally discharged, it is only the end of the beginning, because in many respects they are not discharged at all. Their thoughts and tunnel vision is 100% focused on the ongoing care and well-being of their baby. And due to the extent of their committed caring time purely spent in the hospital environs, other people in the hospital, unconnected to their plight, sometimes mistakenly take them for being permanent members of the hospital caring professions. And in one sense, they are. And unfortunately, sometimes to such an extent, they can selflessly neglect their own wellness and well-being. And what does the state do at present? It fails to treat them differently to the other mothers fortunate enough to give birth to full-term babies. Today, Dáil has an opportunity to say no more of this, to give these mothers a voice, to hear that voice, and in hearing that voice and recognising the current inequality, for Dáil to resolve to address the issue in a meaningful way. Mothers of Ireland are watching us attentively today, and some undoubtedly also nerve-filled. Despite the often many differences and disagreements in this chamber, members of the Dáil can stand together today on the 5th of April 2017, not for themselves or their respective parties, not even for new politics, but to stand united for these mothers. For mothers who find themselves propelled into this frenetic world, their immediate and most pervading concern, which permeates every second of their day, is one of fear. The fear that your baby might not survive. That fear can become a speechless and most suffocating fear for the parents as they zealously watch their child as he or she lies in hospital, tiny and fragile, watching on as their baby literally fights for his or her life. Emotionally draining and physically exhausting days, weeks and months lie ahead for these parents. Today, we as legislators clearly cannot remove that fear and the worry from the parents of premature babies. But by extending maternity leave and maternity benefit, we can remove some of the incredible stress and strain from their already troubled lives. We can offer and deliver real help, make a real change. However, today I believe an opportunity like this should not pass without also acknowledging and paying tribute to the hard-working women and men who work in our hospitals and our healthcare facilities across the country, who work tirelessly, often in an incredibly pressured work environment, to ensure that best professional expert care is given to any baby who is born preterm. As well as the mothers, courageous doctors and nurses too are unheralded champions. Under the Maternity Protection Acts 1994 and 2004, a mother is entitled to 26 weeks maternity leave and benefit and 16 weeks unpaid leave. This generally comes into action on the birth of a baby. However, babies surviving from the earliest gestations, such as 23 weeks, can spend months in a neonatal unit in hospital. As a result of being born prematurely, major organs have not had enough time to develop in utero. Premature babies are therefore more at risk of disease and infection than term infants. The babies who are discharged from a unit with a definite long-term diagnosis or on supportive medical equipment still need full-time care in the home. Under current legislation, a mother will use up the majority of her maternity leave and benefit before a baby even comes home from hospital. It is possible for a mother to defer her maternity leave while her baby is hospitalised, but going back to work while your baby is encased in a glass box, hooked up to tubes, is out of the question for many parents, especially when there is much evidence that babies benefit greatly from the touch and closeness of a parent on a daily basis. I have 3 children, all of whom were born full-term in recent years. But in recent years, I have watched and listened to the heart-wrenching stories of friends and colleagues at work who had premature babies. I cannot begin to imagine, to comprehend the worry, stress and upheaval that parents go through when their baby is born prematurely. The current length of maternity leave and benefit does not recognise the difficulty presented for mothers of premature babies who are forced to commence their maternity leave long before their baby will come home. Research has shown that mothers of premature babies record significantly higher rates of post-traumatic stress disorder than mothers of full-term infants, and that these traumatic reactions can remain active long-term and require extensive follow-up. I am bringing this motion before the Dáil to shed light on how unfair and unacceptable the current legislative regime is for parents of premature babies and to seek change. Politics can help. Politics has the potential to make a real difference today. This motion calls on the Government to extend the period of available maternity leave and benefit by a variable degree for all mothers of babies who are born prematurely, extending from the day the baby is born to the day the baby would have been born at full term. In cases where premature babies are kept in hospital past what would have been their full term, the extended maternity leave and benefit would continue until the baby is discharged. It is essential that this entitlement is made in addition to all current maternity leave and benefit entitlements available. The net effect of this would be that when a baby is born prematurely, his or her mother does not start her 6-month entitlement to maternity leave and benefit until either the equivalent full term of the baby has been reached or the baby has been discharged from hospital. While her infant is in hospital, the mother need not worry about eating into her 6 months of maternity leave. Only once the baby is discharged and is safely and healthily home should the current available 6-month period commence. In this motion, we also call on the Government to consider extending paternity leave under these circumstances and to provide additional financial support where necessary for families of premature babies in relation to travel and accommodation costs so the family can stay together. We believe that parents should receive greater support from their employers and therefore are calling on Government to arrange that appropriate advice be published for all employers on how to do this, and to require employers to have a policy in place for supporting parents of premature babies. While most employers do treat their employees who find themselves in these unexpected circumstances with compassion, it is essential that they know how best to support them. New mothers need to feel confident of their rights in the workplace. All these are practical steps, are reasonable steps, and will make a huge difference to parents of premature babies. It is important to note that not all premature infants have health issues, and not all babies who are born at or past full term are born healthy. There are many sick babies who are born at full term, whose parents still live in worry and fear of their baby's health, and today my heart goes out to those too. And I am also aware of the fact that sometimes the parents of premature babies may bring home their baby within days of birth, healthy and into a new and happy household. However, for the ones who are born very prematurely, the challenges are unbelievably daunting. In advance of this debate, I have received numerous communications, and deputies, I would like to share just one letter with you that I received from a mother of a premature baby, and I would like to read out some excerpts from it to the House. Dear Catherine, I am writing to you to share my experiences as a mother of an extremely premature baby who was born 4 months early in 2014 at the National Maternity Hospital, Holles Street. Patrick arrived unexpectedly at 23 weeks plus 1 day's gestation, weighing approximately 1 pound 4 ounces. To get an idea of Patrick's actual size at birth, his body was the size of a mobile phone. His legs were the length of an adult baby's finger. During labour, I was informed by the consultant neonatologist that Patrick had less than a 10% chance of survival, and they would know within 3 months of his birth whether they would take him home immediately to the neonatal intensive care unit or hand him back to me to hold him for his final few minutes of life. I will remember that moment and those words for the rest of my life. There was no joyful cry at birth, only the sound of clinicians working frantically to save our baby boy who faced life's biggest nemesis, death. My maternity leave of 26 weeks commenced the day after Patrick was born. There were no congratulation cards, no shiny balloons, no photos of my husband or I holding our little boy, only silent tears, trying to hold it together for each other, living hour to hour, day to day for the first 2 months. Our little boy, the apple of our eye, the beam of our smiles and the love of our lives, spent the next 16 weeks in ICU. He was on life support for 70 days, had 11 transfusions, an open heart valve, biochemical difficulties, chronic lung disease, hernias, severe reflux and retinopathy. Our world came crashing down when at 7 weeks post-birth, Patrick had kidney failure and crashed, requiring resuscitation. Though our hearts were utterly broken, Patrick never gave up. One of his many traits. We learned that day to never underestimate a premature baby or any child. They can surpass all that is expected of them and much more. They are stronger than any adult. After 18 weeks and following Patrick's discharge as an inpatient in Holles Street, I had 8 weeks remaining of paid maternity leave. 10 months post-birth, I realised I was functioning on autopilot, and during a visit to my GP was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. Discussing one's mental health is difficult, and a mother to admit that she feels fearful, anxious or down, well, this is in contrast to what society expects of a new mother, and especially of one whose baby has survived against the odds. But I don't mind sharing this experience with you and others, because I was living every day with a heightened sense of fear that Patrick might die suddenly, that his survival was just too good to be true. However, with the support of my wonderful husband, our families and a counsellor, I learned how to integrate this traumatic experience into my life in a positive way. I end this letter on a positive. Patrick recently celebrated his 3rd birthday and is a beautiful, healthy and independent little boy. Ceann Comhairle, Patrick's mum Tara is here today. Her story is just one story, And there are, of course, many more similar stories from mothers and fathers and families throughout the length and breadth of our country. But where are the supports for Tara and the thousands of other mothers every year who face this exhausting challenge of a lifetime? Many people have written to me, shocked that we as a country have chosen to ignore rather than support, shocked that what I am proposing is not in place. Mar is old o Hishmahori, is fui lehe, nir salithar lanav, taresh ashter nevui savrin. Being glinder agus fuishavurin, go will an vorher in endi lenanian, taresh choct slan tri ganachtri na brehe. Ach, lenin at salithar rolua, riv brehe, en noose an linder cree, being brishu cree fasta is burch. Níl fuishav bwe in nond an Tishmahori, mar tá anbuil aun I goni, go vedfi an lanav lo kailach sha a kailunch, amerbe. Tréisiad strasfer imniach lán de bhuairt na breisne a thói geis, agus noi custis breise, nos tachel agus lostein gan gard an ospidil agus mar sinde. Bín implachti I geis don chailach fad. Fector dom a co-cheachtaí Dáil, go bhfuil dlíthe ratha an stát ag cur le thuúlach an bmháthair in ionad a laidú nó fiú a roinnt léhi. Ach, tá ráha agéin mac na bhar an gceist seo agus athruithe a dhéanamh chun maithasa bhatha meabhair sláinte agus sláinte fisiciúil an bmháthair, mar le deis a láthair don níon beag bídeach, buntáiste a bhaint as teagháil fisiciúil lena bmháthair nó máthair. Nasc ná dúrtha atá réachtaneacht do urbairt an níon lócailach úd, as sa létar rólua riv brehe. This 32nd Dáil has an opportunity to begin to put things right today. Members of all political parties and none have an opportunity to unite behind these mothers, to protect families and children and give them the help that they need and that they deserve. I implore members of this House, I urge members of this House to support this motion, and in doing so, allow mothers to have time. Time to recover from a traumatic few weeks or months. Allow mothers to have time at home with their baby. Allow mothers to have time to hold their baby. Allow mothers to have time to care for their baby. Allow mothers time to watch their baby progress at home. I ask members to support this motion and give them that precious time together. Gurv Mahagat.
Thank you.